Roman soldiers are, but we're going to get some Romans to help us, right? So let's go to a definition of a state, because we're talking about making states. We talk about making states which are inferior on our ancestral estate. We're going to be state citizens now? Oh, and abandoned. Yeah. State, a people permanently occupying a fixed territory bound together by what? By common law habits. That's your customs and what they call your religion, your liberty of conscience, right? And customs, by common law habits and customs, into one body politic exercising through the medium of an organized government, their independent sovereignty, control over all persons and things within its boundaries. They're capable of making war and of making peace and of entering into international relations with other communities of the globe. So, I already said this. We're talking international, but we must be nationals for. Okay. So let me show you. I thought I had a drawing of the. Oh yeah. I just want you to look on the left side of this right now. Just you get a visual of this right now. So we got natural people from the top of what Canaanland is included. That's North America, isn't it? Oh yeah, it is. People, natural people, aboriginals occupy the land in a United States of mind and customs. And people from the state of mind and people from the top of the American land, North America, to the bottom, all the way South America. I want you to visualize that. So the blue star is when they started forming. We gotta see, if a state is a group of people occupying a fixed part of land, we can go right there and agree to that. A state of mind, a state of people. It's like, what state are you in? Like, not state, corporate state, but what state are you in? We've already been occupying it. It already is ours. The situation is that they came and made pissed in the sand and made sales boundaries for their companies. We shouldn't even be sweating that. It doesn't mean anything. Those are fictitious boundaries that will dissolve and are dissolving in a minute. No, we want to jump in and go do what they do, because when they talk about decolonization of that process that these people are talking about today, these Moors are talking about today, is when other colonies want to take claim to what another foreign colony has emerging in states. But you'll see that when you bring it up to date and it says it's about Aboriginal indigenous people, I'm telling you, I'm going to show you there is no process. It's mental. I'm going to show it to you. So here we go. So let's say I did the definition. Let's do the definition of a constitution, because that's another thing. You want to throw away the Constitution, which is the national constitution. Oh yeah, well, we answer up to it, but only in a certain way, and that is to enforce it, to make sure that nobody's molested, and to make sure that this union company and their members, which are the states, don't molest. That's it. So yeah, it's people trip over, well, it's the Constitution for the United States, because you didn't need one. So it's the Constitution, law of the daggone land, your land. It's written in the spirit of divine law. It's probably one of the most deep spiritual documents out there. And yes, here's the law of the land. And it's for you, mind your business. You better follow this. Why can't we see this? Why do we look at it as a division of, well, that's the non-European Constitution? No. Same thing we do now. We need to have our own. Do we even know what a constitution is? Do we even know what the constituencies are? Do we understand the constituencies of our own body that we are that we are here in? Do we understand that? Can our mind get there? So I repeat, this Constitution that says for the United States of America, first 7 articles is ultra important. It tells them how they can set up their stuff on our land. We put them in check. and double check. Like, this is how you got to run it. This is that, that. Articles, this, that, how you can pass laws, this, that. But we're the visitation upon this. We are the visitation. And we are the enforcers of it. Stop saying, well, that's for the white man. Some people say. I used to say that when I didn't know. Shucks. You know? So we have to understand our place. It's called take your place amongst the affairs of man. And what does that end up for you? It means that you will be able to be yourself. For real, because you hold them to this. You hold them to this. And you know they violated, but in law and in justice and in equity and equanimity, if you got it, you got them all day long. So, definition of Constitution in American law. The written instrument that has been agreed upon by the people of the Union or of a particular state. Because remember, they adopted this, they agreed, or of a particular state as the absolute rule of action and decision for all departments and officers of the government in respect to all the points covered by it. So they can make agencies, this, that, all, at all, etc. and all, which must control. So this Constitution must control. It must control. That's why today, when you hear them on the news and all kinds of stuff, yelling about the Constitution, Now, don't get it confused. They talk about the state constitution because we got Article 6 for that. We're going to bring it up tonight again. There are two situations here. The supreme law of the land, you are supposed to enforce, Morris. You have visitation upon that. The state's constitution is what you said they can do for their membership, citizen, whatever. But in the spirit of peace and love, and love and truth and peace and freedom and injustice, don't get it wrong. You're like, but don't you mess with people, even your own, because of the nature of the human nature, because the human nature is ethers, and most of what we have seen is the beast ether. Read the Circle 7, and then you will understand that operating lots of people, not all of them, are operating on the beast ether. That's why the prophet gave that to you. So that you know, like we do a lot of judgments. We do it ourselves. We do a lot of judgments. Well, you know, that person should be like this, and that person should be like that, and that person shouldn't do that. And why did they do that? And that's blah, blah, blah. Because they operate and they're on the beast out there. That's why. That is why. Trying to infiltrate and fit in. You know, come down and hide. So, with that being said, you know, understand that. So this document that you want to abandon and not recognize is the national constitution that happens to have them on the right flank, keeping them in check because they're on your land. Because we tried to end the slavery they were in, that the British or brutish Moors wanted to keep them in, and they didn't get them free until 1783. So we're trying to bring peace. Your ancestors trying to bring peace. This is the peace document. It cannot be altered as a written document, and it is what you need to keep them at bay. You want to abandon that and go make a new one that nobody's got to even recognize. But that's not even the point, whether they recognize it or not. The point is why, when you have everything you need. Now, one last thing is this. When you hear any group tell you, because I've been hearing that a lot too, well, you know, this is the prophet said that the half has not been told. Oh, you really believe that? Like that? Well, let us tell you what that really means. First of all, the prophet said, I have given you everything you need to save an entire nation. But you need to take it and save yourself. So if you believe that, so if he said the half has not been told, but he also said that, and he made that emphatically clear. The half that has not been told is you. It's you, and you. All of us. All of us. All of us. We are the half that has not been told yet. Because we ain't speaking. We're not speaking. We're not living. We're not breathing. We're not taking in the holy breath for real and being who we are, and knowing that we create our own reality on this active plane of earth of manifest. So therefore, they say you make your own heaven and hell right here on earth. Well, that is absolutely truthful. It doesn't matter what someone else does. So it's the same thing when the prophet said, you know what? You looking for that devil, huh? Well, look within. Oh, you looking for a savior? Oh, you better look within. Same thing. So we can't honor what our ancestors did to protect us, that we can't tear down. He said it, but we want to abandon it because we think, well, that's for the white man, or that's for the modern European, because we know we don't call them white man anymore, but people think that and they teach that. Well, that's for them, because everybody isn't really a Moor or everybody or whatever. We're all one family, bearing one free national name. All right? And we've all come in this flesh, spirit man in this flesh, for a purpose and a reason. This document right here actually is the peace document. Roll it back. Actually is like the peace document. What are you looking for? Because what you're looking for, you already have. But we like to abandon. Now, I don't know if it's because it's title, but whatever. So let's finish this. So this must be controlled until it shall be changed by the authority which established it. You see, you know who that is. It's not changing. It's a written document as such. It cannot be altered. And so that's the case law, by the way. And not that we need that. We all know that. Also, everyone must interpret it for what it meant when it was written. So don't tell me about, well, things have changed now. Don't you recognize principle? Hold on. All right. I just want to make sure that I'm still broadcasting because something funky just happened. Sometimes the energy just flashes up at me. Somebody just let me know we're still broadcasting.
Yeah, you still live. You still live.
Thank you, Brother Amazon. Thank you. Okay. Because, sometimes it sends me stuff. Okay. So it must control until the authority which established it. And in such opposition, and in opposition to which, you know how they write. Let me break that down because it's a twisted type sentence. Like I used to get a little, I'm like, it's notwithstanding. I had to, like, what does that mean? It means it has no standing. And in opposition to which, we're talking about this document. That means anything that is in opposition to it. Anything that is in opposition to it. And it says, any act or ordinance of any such department of any state, local, municipal, federal, doesn't matter. Any act or ordinance of any such department or officer is what? Null and void. What do you want? Why you want to make another constitution? You don't know your own. When I say your own, I mean your body. Let's start there. And how about the one the prophet said? Because the bylaws and constitution that the prophet had, guess what that is really, really for? It's to teach you to be a better person when you go out into the world. That's what it is. That's all it is. That's what it is. You don't want to deal with that one, but you want to make a new one that you think doesn't belong to you? Because we're going to get into that. So if you were dealing with the prophet's work, you would already know. You would already know. You would know that bylaws and constitution. All of us would, right? And you would know that you're not supposed to be out here making no damn new constitution. You would know that. You would know this. And then you ain't going to your United Nations because they got a conscience about the treatment of the people that's inhumane. Because this is about uplifting fallen humanity. Because I'm going to tell you, that's all that it is. Let's do that. Let's do that. All right, I did that, the definition of a state in terms of being a specific thing. And I showed you that. And let's go here for a minute. I'm going to bring this back up when Mink comes on it and Liz. You've got to know that a national domicile, I know that's the wrong map because I'm showing you their subdivisions, but in this particular point class, it's good that it's there. Listen to this. National domicile, whether it's a business or not, because some people say, well, the Constitution is for business. Well, the United States the United States is a union company, and all the states are their members. So yeah, but principle, the domicile of a person considered as being national domicile. Excuse me, defining national domicile. The domicile of a person considered as being within the territory of a particular nation, and not with reference to a particular locality or subdivision of a nation. That's your national domicile. There's no subdivisions. I'll take all those fictitious state lines out. You want to go and you want to get reparation, or really what they're doing to you is naturalizing, but we'll show you that. For these states that you didn't even name. Okay. What is a quasi-national domicile? One line, just one line, one that's involved residents in the state. That's it. And then a municipal domicile is neither one of them. They're the least, but yet they hanging on you every day when you walk out your door trying to harass and molest you. So one which is distinguished from national and quasi has reference to resident in a county, a township, or a municipality. So check this out. The people of the United States, we're talking about that now, that are resident within any state, guess what they're subject to? To two governments. Hello, two governments. Two mention one. Y'all remember that commercial? Oh, I'm showing my age. Search commercial with two mention one. And that's why it says indivisible, All right. They're subject to two. One of them is what? National. Oh, really? But one is state and the other is national. Really? But we want to be state. We want to be state. And then we want to drag people to an international discussion while we're being state instead of being nationals. Hello. Hell is low. All right. But there need be no conflict between the two. So what are you talking about when you think that you need to go and get permission or a process from anyone when all you have to do is speak it from your mouth? It's called declare. Declare means be clear, which the prophet said, if you don't do nothing else, do that. And he said, oh, by the way, in these days and times, you better proclaim. You're daggone right, because there's a whole lot of stuff coming out from under the falling tower. From the tower card with the tower, relate that to the twin towers that fell in New York or something. There's a whole lot of stuff coming up out from underneath the basement. So I'm going to pin it at 4 and 5 because I'm going to scroll this down, and whatever else we need to pull up, I'm going to pull up on the side. But decolonization, here's my proof to you. Is about cultural and economic freedom for the indigenous people with the goal of achieving indigenous sovereignty, the right and ability of indigenous people to practice self-determination. Oh, I think that was already mentioned in the United Nations, acknowledged anyway, to practice self-determination over the land, cultures, and political and economic systems. Colonialism is a historical and ongoing global project where settlers continue to occupy land, dictate social, political, and economic systems, and exploit these indigenous people and their resources. Decolonization is work that belongs to all of us, everywhere. It asks us to think about our relationship with indigenous lands that colonizers have unjustly claimed. And this is what they're telling themselves now. This is what they're telling themselves. Redefined and repurposed all over the world. It asks us to embrace responsibility as opposed to accepting fault. This is what they're telling themselves, y'all. Lastly, decolonization is a path forward to creating systems. They got to create systems, not you, which are just and equitable, addressing inequality through education. Did they say education? Sounds like institutions of learning to me. Dialogue, communication, and action. Now, for the non-Indigenous people, decolonization is the process of examining their beliefs about Indigenous people and culture by learning about yourself in relationship to the communities where you live and the people with whom you interact. There's one more. So around September the 5th, 2021, decolonization occurs when Aboriginal or non, I want y'all to hear this clearly. The prophet said, I have come to take you out of a mental slavery. This stuff is mental. So, around September the 5th, 2021, decolonization occurs when Aboriginal or non-Aboriginal peoples impacts of colonization. Aboriginal people can decolonize through self-determination, i.e., taking care of their own affairs. Hello? That was low. I gotta stop saying that. Islam, I don't know. It sounds like the prophet already gave us what we needed. It sounds like, if you can't save the nation, dad, save yourself first. It sounds like there's another one that's in my mind. If man knows, he must be what he knows. See, people want to take things where they can lead, and they don't even know how to totally lead. So, there you go. Why would you, the mothers and the fathers of civilization and civilization principles, of course, upon taking your place and knowing that, go to any place for any permission, for any process? It's cray-cray. Believe me, there's some stipulations in there. You already have it, but you won't do it. But then when they do what they do, and some stuff go down in the fine print, because you went through a process, instead of being who you are, you be witching and moaning. Witching and moaning. Same old thing over and over again. We keep abandoning it. So now non-Aboriginal people can also make a conscious effort to prioritize and learn about Aboriginal culture and values over views from the dominant and usually Western culture. Listen, it's a mind thing. So, and then again, and I think this is the last thing I wanted to show. In theory, there are 3 ways to decolonize. I looked for the process and its color. So in reality, this is what I'm telling you is what it is. It's psychological, it's mind. So we need to have situations set up or institutions of learning or whatever it is to teach people about self. I've come to teach you to be yourself. But you want to hear someone else tell you and give you a worksheet on with a process that you sign up to and engage, and maybe you'll fail the process. I don't know. Obviously, you got to go through some hoop. How do you have to go through a hoop to be yourself? So anyway, this is really a repeat, but the 3 ways. Look at this one. Surrender. Aboriginal people surrender their right to self-determination and submit to become part of the dominant culture. Hello, that's one of the ways. The UN calls this option integration. So whoever's doing this process, check and see if the process isn't under integration, because the UN calls that one integration. They say, look, just submit. to submit, to surrender. Surrender is the word they use. Your own self-determination and submit to become a part of us. Another dominant culture. Us or whatever. I don't know who. I guess you could check off become a part of, or check up some Directive 15, just like checking off Directive 15, or is it 51, the federal classification, to decide what classification you're going to accept that they're giving. Read that. One of the ways is just surrender. You're right. To self-determination and submit to become part of, our dominant culture. The UN calls this option integration. That's not about freedom whatsoever. So compromise is the second one. Same thing. Aboriginal people and their dominant culture. From a compromise where Aboriginal people retain some freedom to govern their own affairs. They obtain some freedom to govern their own affairs, but are still subject to the administration and the laws of the dominant culture. This is the joke. A true joke. And this is from the UN. So find out which one you're going. Independence. Aboriginal people are free of any control of the dominant culture and empowered to produce their own, often pre-colonial systems of government. Oh, I like this one. Because the prophet gave it to you already. They're like, all right, just be independent. Moors are upright, fearless, and independent. So what you seek, you have. But what you choose is up to you. So if you choose the integration option, just check and see if the process that these people are giving you, what it is under. Is it under the integration process? All right, let's go. I'm going to say this. This is my last one. Yep. Oh, one again. Modern leaders say decolonization is the process by which a colony gains its independence from a colonial power. There it is again. I gave you the first one. It's when colonies want to emerge as states. It's when colonies want to emerge as states. It says so under Uri Pasadena, it says it. So modernly, it's like, well, decolonization is the process by which a colony gains its independence from a colonial power. A colony gains it. But they told the Aboriginals, look, it's your choice. You can choose to be independent, or you can choose to submit, or you could whatever. What was the other? Integrate, whatever like that. Decolonization could be achieved by attaining independence, integrating with the administering power or another state, or establishing a free association status. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to stop here because we're going to get into naturalization. I guarantee you, from what I think I know, you're going through a naturalization process. And here's why. The act by which an alien is made a citizen of the United States, the act of adopting a foreigner, and clothing him with all the privileges of a native foreign. I was told on the line that anybody who didn't go through that would be a foreigner. I said, wait a minute, but we're all Moors. They said, they're not Moors, they're foreigners. You mean foreign to your stuff? Obviously. Because if I choose not to do that, I got to be a foreigner now? Oh, do I? Or I'm not a Moor? Oh, okay, well, I thought we were all Moors because we're descendants of Moroccans born in America. Didn't you read the prophet's work, or do you not? But yet you want to say, or any of these people want to say, oh, well, we're doing the half that hasn't been told to the prophet. You are not. You're not even bringing the first part. You ain't even bringing a foundation to the table and building from there. Because if you were, you would have known you don't need to do none of this. But what you are doing, and what you did say, is age-old efforts of infiltration to get Moors to naturalize on their own stuff. I thought the foreign consulate stuff was bad. This may be worse. Because the energy from it is this. They are naturalizing you. They're saying, look, let me just, the act of adopting the foreigner. So I'm a foreigner until you do this thing with me. Until I go through this process. I'm a foreigner. Oh, yes, that's how it goes. And then this naturalization. Well, the person who's officiating is the person that's telling you to come and create the Moroccan state or whatever the heck they want to call it, right? So There consider himself a nation or the sovereign who represents it may grant to a stranger. So they're calling you a stranger from the door when you're walking, looking in their face. They're saying that you are a foreigner and a stranger, but you won't be until you join this right here. And you know that when you look in the face of any man, you are looking in the face of Allah, and you abandon that too. So you come to them face to face. You strip. You in their mind, and their mind, because man is mine. You are a foreigner. You are a foreigner, a stranger. You're a stranger. So the representative of this nation, being a state, by the way, not a nation like a national, but a nation state, right? Like that. The definition is that so the representative from that is going to grant to you, a stranger. We're reading who officiates the nationalization. Beware of that. People say, yeah, I want to naturalize, and not the same as nationalize, because nationalize isn't really a process, it's a mind thing. But they say, I want to naturalize. Be aware that that means you're admitting that you're a stranger to some other man or woman or group. That's number one. And then that person is the sovereign. They're sovereign. You're not. You're born sovereign, born free, but as far as they're concerned, get into the group, you're not. And so they are going to, that stranger is going to grant to that sovereign representative, whoever that may be, they may all be, what's the title? Not this year, it says secretary. What's the title they got over there? I forgot what the title is. A lot of chiefs, right? That's another problem. You get too many what we call chiefs, you're gonna have no situation, baby. It's working enough for everybody. Everybody must take their place. So the sovereign who represents this is going to grant to a stranger the quality of citizen by admitting him into the body of their political society. This is called naturalization. Fellow Moore is going to say you're a stranger, admit you to their stuff, and if you don't do it, admittedly say you're foreign. So they're trying to just create states, right? So, so anyway, I am done here. I am simply going to read this right here. We read it in, I think it was Sister Karima's class Monday night. We've seen it often. We researched this years ago, put it in a banner and everything. And so, psychopathic constitutional inferiority. Now, don't think of Constitution as just that piece of paper, that great deed. You are a Constitution. Your body is made up with its constituents. The earth is in agreement with it, too. As long as you're here, you're provided for. And some of those natural constituencies of the bodies are salts. Just as an example. Oh, that's another class. I'm trying to tell you. You got to know who you are. You got to respect that and not abandon it. And then go running after everything. Individuals. So psychopathic constitutional inferiority. Individuals who show a lifelong and constitutional tendency not to conform to the customs of the group and who habitually misbehave and have no sense of responsibility to their fellow men or to society as a whole. And then people are like, well, what's wrong with the nation? There's nothing wrong with the nation. It's the people who've been misled. That's the problem. It's the people. So these individuals fail to learn by experience and are inadequate, incompatible. You know any incompatibles, disagreeables, whatever like that? And they are inefficient. That's what the definition of psychopathic constitutional inferiority in man is mine, and this is what's going down right now. And an abandonment is going down right now. So when I say it's not the nation it's the people, I'm including myself. I mean, I'm included. All of us. We all have to learn in our degree. So we do this to try to say, it was like this, and I'm closing, not closing, but I'm finished with what I really want to lay out here as the groundwork for the additional information being shared. When I got the email, I said, oh my goodness. I said, OMG. That word OMG. Is this how this is misleading the people coming in? We got to try to, not try to do anything. We're not setting goals on anything. We're just being. And we knew that we got to let them know. Why don't all this time? Like, I know there's some that may never quote unquote get it or get anything. And like, but geez, because they asked the question innocently. They really meant that. They really thought that. And I'm not here to save anyone but myself, yes, but if I can give you a direction or some information that'll help you understand that you can move to one of the 7. So with that being said, Nick, I know you have some things to say, but I would like for you to comment when when we talk about moving to the 7, one of the currently 7 Moroccan nation states. Can you just speak on what does that mean if they say if they're in one place like Oklahoma and then you were talking about they go through another state that isn't one of the nation states? I mean, it's the same thing that's going down that we already got. Islam, peace and love.
Please, can you do me a favor? Can you pull
yes,
pull the one-on-ones that we discussed?
Okay.
Can you pull chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 47 from the Quran, please? While I'm addressing this.
I got 3, 4, and 47. Is that the order? Because 47 I already got it up. If you want me to pull that right now while I look for them.
I'll start with 47 and then I'll add 3 and 4. That's perfect.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to do 47 right now. That's good. Did you say 47 is good? All right.
Yeah.
It's up.
All right.
Egypt, the capital empire, the Dominion of Africa. Yeah, it's up on the board.
Can you, for the young and born, I'm going to answer this, but after I'm finished, can you read that so that we're clear on the geographical coordinates of Egypt and the capital dominions of Africa?
All right.
And what that entails. What I'm just trying to figure out, granted, it's a process. It makes sense. It's a process and it needs to be built to what it needs to be built to. But hypothetically, right, if we're going to take a whole and we're going to chop it down into segments or sections, what happens, because you've abandoned the whole, the concept of the whole is abandoned while you've made sections. So if you're breaking down the whole, what happens to the sections that you have not been able to take through this process that you're demonstrating? Like, for those that know about the East Coast, or I'll give you what I can give you. Let's just say hypothetically we're domiciled at New York territory, and we don't have any things set up in New Jersey territory. And we're going to Delaware or Maryland territory, meaning you have to get through New Jersey territory to get to the latter two that I named. If you're abandoning the idea of this whole thing being a vast estate, what jurisdiction are you protected by when you go through New Jersey territory? Since you don't have a regency or a post or whatever you're calling for administration in said territory, where's the protection line? If it's not the national constitution that we know is the supreme law of the land, if it's not that we're acknowledging that this is Northwest Maxim and the whole nation is our inherent estate, what happens when you travel through the territories that you have not been able to establish anything in yet? What laws are protecting that if they're not, if it's not established? You're breaking up the estate. I mean, let's just say you in Georgia territory, quote unquote, and you're trying to make it to Texas territory, but you haven't established anything in Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee. How are you protecting yourselves from point A to point B? And it's not the treaty unless you're on the water. If you're going to take the Gulf Coast, quote unquote, to get from so-called, I mean, you can't do that from Georgia because it's not there. But if you're going to go into Alabama, let's say, and take the Gulf Coast to get to quote unquote Texas, maybe you can use the treaty for that because that's water. But if you're traveling across the inherent estate by land vessel or any other mode of conveyance that is not water, what laws are being used to protect the nationals? Especially when you're not calling yourself a national. So what happens, I want people to think from that angle. And I also want you to know and understand that the protection lies with the nation or the nationality that you're attached to. Anywhere else that you go, if you don't have protection clauses in place by way of your nation or nationality, you become subject to the territories that you're traveling to or through. And it's not bound to corporate persons. It's not bound to individuals, quote unquote, by way of statutory definition, which is corporate person again. This is for the natural person. You become stateless. We're going to go into that too in a minute. A stateless person being a natural person without an allegiance to a nation. to be protected in the scope of international law. So just be mindful. We have a whole house and we renting out the house, and instead of saying, or we have somebody managing the house, pardon me, and instead of dealing with the fact that we don't like how they're managing it and making them answer up to it and or reclaiming it back, we're going to abandon that and go and build another house next to it. We're going to build a back house. We got a guest house. We don't want to furnish the basement. We don't want to furnish the attic. We have built some walls up in the joint. So anything that we can do to not deal with the elephant in the room, quote unquote, which is the custodian not doing their fiduciary duty. Why are we doing everything other than making them answer to the contractual agreement that they made? We're doing everything but that. And in the process, we're abandoning, as the mother stated earlier. There's no other way to put it. Just from simple terms and from a metaphoric standpoint, we have property. And we have management. It's as simple as this. And they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Do you leave and go find you another property? Do you start building around the property to stay out of their way? You don't want to bump heads with them, so and you don't want to kick them out. So you're going to build and place yourself in a box, quote unquote, so that they can walk around your house as freely and as comfortable as they want to. But meanwhile, you're uncomfortable. Because you're going to build a bunker in the basement. So you ain't got to go up there and deal with them. Huh? You done built the man cave in the garage. So you ain't got to go in the house and deal with it. You put a hot plate in there. You got a little hotel refrigerator in there. You got the TV in there. You got a game system. You putting all this stuff in the man cave. Or the she shed. Sisters are in this too. Or so that you don't have to go in the house and deal with the company that's violating your rules and violating your laws that you guys agreed upon. Does that sound right to you? Because that's what a lot of people are doing now. Why are we building on top of what we have when we don't even have what we have in order? It's dirty. It needs to be cleaned up. We need some repairing, and we need new management. Does that sound like something that you want to abandon? I mean, if it does, by all means, it's your mind, it's your actions. But from a logical standpoint, does that sound like something that you would want to do if you were breaking this down to a simple level and say that it's an investment property, quote unquote, that you have? Are you really gonna let the management company taint your taste buds so bad with this that you're gonna walk away from it, or try to build around it as if it doesn't exist? Still abandonment, no matter which way you look at it. Because the minute they see you building and not claiming, they're going to claim it under abandonment. Because acquiescence is agreement. So now you're not claiming it. You're leaving the lane open for them to claim. Possession is how what is possession again? Is 9 cents?
It's 9/10. Yes.
All right. So by default, you move out of your joint and let somebody else and wonder why things aren't going the way that they need to go. We're trying to do every single thing but what the prophet brought to us. Let's not get this misconstrued. We're not saying let's parakeet the prophet. We're not saying let's be shepherdized by what the prophet's message was. We're not saying let's turn the prophet into Jesus. What we are saying is the blueprint is the printed. What we are saying is that old school recipe for your favorite family dish has been put in your hand. The one that you love since you were a child. It's in your hand. What we are saying is the footprints are clearly cut for all to see. We got the formula. See, what we keep doing as a people, speaking for us as a people, right? What we keep doing is looking at the formula, then we're not doing the math right. That's the main problem. There's nothing wrong with putting an addition where an addition can go. If you have done the proper, if you research, if you have walked enough, you have enough experience to add on, that's what we usually call it. Then add on. CMB added on. But you know what else CMB did? CMB paid attention to the formula. And what CMB added on is in harmony with universal law, with divine law, and what the prophet laid down for him. Great Seal, same thing. I'm not understanding how we have this formula laid out. And we keep figure out ways to do the math, but we're not respecting the formula. There is a formula. And the prophet laid that out and he gave it to us. So instead of us acknowledging that, while we're trying to make whatever contributions that we're making to the movement, we're going against the grain. So much so that we keep picking up lawful terminology that once you do the homework or do the research to it, it doesn't apply to your liberation. What the mother read out earlier,
Yes.
that doesn't apply to our liberation. With all due respect, everybody talking about consular courts. That absolutely, positively does not apply to our liberation. Let's clear this while we're here. We have what CMB brought. It's not the only thing he brought, but it's one of the highlights, and we all use it. It's on your paperwork. It's on your nationality card. It's probably on board. It says AA 222-141. He highlighted and emphasized the fact that the consular courts were abolished, therefore relinquishing European powers having jurisdiction over Moors in their inherent estate. Does that sound like something that we need to revamp? Do you want to give them jurisdiction that they don't have? I don't understand. If for nothing else, how do we take one of the very things in these modern days and times that has been revealed to us and contributed to us as a people by way of CMB, letting us know that relinquished criminal and civil jurisdiction. And we think it's a good idea to revamp that. So, I mean, what is the purpose of it? Are we tired of challenging jurisdiction? So we just going to reestablish it so they can have it? Like, make it make sense. Because that's what it says when you read it. It ain't what I said. It's not what the mother said. It's not our opinion. Go read it. I hope you would already be familiar with it because you got it on your document somewhere. I know you do. It's the relinquishment of jurisdiction, both criminal and civil. So you're reestablishing that. What do you think that's doing? Let's not even get to the fact that a consulate is a subsidiary to an embassy. Not because I said so, not because the mother said so, or anybody else that's opposed to that ideology. It's what the law says. A consulate is subsidiary to an embassy. So, where is the Moorish embassy? Oh, you know what else? Oh, the embassy has to be run by an ambassador. So now, let's just say hypothetically, this was a legitimate demonstration. It's still incomplete. Not because I said so. Go look at the law. Don't listen to me. Go look at the law. So if we were supposed to be doing the consular post, we still don't have an embassy and an ambassador. So either way you look at it, it's not right and exact. So again, here we are. Instead of taking the formula that the prophet gave to us, if anybody is familiar with mathematics, the equations, when you have multiple different types all in the same problem, they have to be done a certain way for it to line up mathematically, right and exact. If you don't do it that way, then it's not going to line up right and exact. we need to look at what the prophet gave us the exact same way. He gave you the formula. So you want to sit here, you want to start doing the subtraction, and you're ignoring the parentheses that you got sitting right there. Or you're going to get to that later. If you make it to that. You might get stumped because you started with the wrong part of the equation to begin with. So we really have to keep this in mind. Like nobody is he didn't even want us to be stuck. That's why we about to go into the Quran for a minute. He didn't want us to be stuck based off of what he said. He told us it was a pattern. He told us it was a blueprint. So just keep that in mind. Don't listen to me. Do the one or do the knowledge to it. Again, think about the mathematical, the order of operations. It's like what's the acronym PEMDAS. For those that know math, or for those who have headaches because their children in that part of learning right now, and you got to help them. Somebody know what I'm talking about. That's what the prophet did. He said, put the parentheses before the exponent. Multiply and divide before adding and subtracting. Well, no. We want to look at the paper and forget the order of operations. We're going to look at the paper, and that's the order of operations. Because that's what we want it to be. So I'm going to start because it says, the addition and the subtraction is in the beginning. Now, reminder is followed by parentheses. Don't act like I don't even see that. Because I got this. I know what I'm doing. Okay. So let's keep those things in mind while we're adding on. The formula is already laid out. If you're going to add to the formula, we're not here to try to stop nobody. That's not within our power, nor is it within yours. But truth doesn't change or pass away. The formula is the truth. That's it. So if you're going to call yourself adding on to what the prophet brought, then it has to go along with the formula. Otherwise, what happens when it be movies or TV shows, what they show when the scientists be up in the lab, and they be mixing the wrong components and the wrong elements or things that aren't compatible, or you put a little bit too much of this element mixed with that element, oh yeah, it blows up in your face. That's what happens. Let's stop playing around with this. Again, this is not about blindly shepherdizing or blindly being shepherdized. This is about looking at the equation. This is about looking at the problem, looking at what the solution is based off of the mode of operations. It's really that simple. And somebody actually came and laid down the PEMDAS for us. Just like in math class. Go do the math how you want to do the math. You go break down the equation how you want to, and I'm going to follow what somebody did the science to and laid out for us, and let's see who. I mean, I really just need for us to understand that. If you're going to add on, make it compatible. Make it fit. You're not discouraging anybody or trying to. But it has to fit, especially in this world that we're in now. For those that are yearning for some kind of organization or some kind of camaraderie, some organized camaraderie. We understand, we get it. We got to come from the era where there was still a little bit of that left, going in and out of temples, brick and mortar temples, from different territories to different territories, and having them come visit us, etc. So we understand, for those who are looking for that, I'm calling it what it is, the clubism that comes along with that. We understand.
Yeah.
We understand. If you're yearning for that, but if you, and we understand that the corruption that we're dealing with, calling a spade, with those brick and mortar operations at this moment, may deter you at this moment going to fellowship with them. So now here you are, trying to figure out how to build you one, so that you get away from the corruption of them, and you can also satisfy that part of the equation that is yearning for that intimate camaraderie. So we understand, for those that are doing it in truth, but you also have to stick with the program. Otherwise, it's not about what the mother and I or anybody that's affiliated or associated with us think. It's about divine law. If it is the prophet laid this down, accordance with divine law. If you do not go in harmony with that, you are going against the grain, and truth is not changed or pass away, but falsehood does.
Mm-hmm.
It
You
ain't
know,
gonna rock.
Pardon my interjection, but what you're saying is when you say organized, people looking for organization, that's exactly what organization is. Organize a nation, for real. That is
Indeed.
what it is. And the foundation as they go out is what they're abandoning. So they ought not even speak, oh, I'm doing the other half that the prophet said was missing, when they're not even standing on the foundation of what he did. That's really what it is, because he had the answer. But I don't want to cut you, but when you're ready for it, I just want to ask, is it article, are you looking for Article 3 out of the divine law, out of the divine constitution?
4 and 5.
Right now you want 4 and 5, but you mentioned 3.
No, I said
all right, so here's what I'm going to do. Let me tell you. People in the chat, we got RM, Salam, and Amazon. They are posting up these things in full. And I think that would be great because they can help me here a little bit. If one of them could post up 4 and 5 from the divine constitution, if they don't mind, since both of them, yeah, and then,
no,
excuse me?
I said thank you.
Oh yeah, if they don't mind.
You said you already have up 47?
I do have up 47, but I'm asking them now because I know that you had said, I know that you had said 3, 4, and 5. 4 and 5 is from the divine law. I mean, divine constitution by law. Something's going on with your mic. Something's going on with your mic.
There's somebody playing music in the background.
Oh, and I'm ready. Got a mic from somebody else.
Yeah, pardon the interjection. It's Byron Nash. If Byron Nash could mute, or if you can mute him, that's who's
Oh, you muted.
Yeah.
All right. Peace, Cujo.
Peace.
Oh, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
No, I was saying,
all right.
Those articles will be later. I'm gonna go through the.
Okay, all right. Well, good. Yeah, Amazon already got Act 4 and 5 up already. Wow, that's great. That's helping me today. So if you want to go through chapter 47, that's already posted. So we got 4 and 5 up too.
Hold on.
Got it.
Before 4 and 5 though, I'm still gonna touch 3 and 4 from the Quran.
3 and from the Quran. Okay. Chapter 3 and chapter 4 from the Quran.
Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. What do you want to do first here when you're ready? 47 is up already?
Uh-huh.
It's up. I love that one. That one's up. Ready.
You want to read it?
Board. On the screen. Yes, I would. And I will read it for you. Hold on 1 second here. Just be ourselves. That's right. So all this is about is being yourself. The prophet just helped you to know what that was, who that was, how that was. We already got 47. Amazon, thank you. I already got that one up on the board. All right. So we go with 47. Egypt, the capital empire. The dominion of Africa. I love the way this rolls down because it puts everything in its proper order. So the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan, which they call Canada today, right? Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, which is the first true and divine name of Africa. The dividing of the land between the father and the son. Just a demarcation line. The father went one direction, the son went the other. Just that simple. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received their permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. So this is your geographical, all right? Mm-hmm. You don't need to go to the United Nations or none of this. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico, and also Mexico, and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. And that is why, if I may interject, you see Africa touching up to North America or South America, excuse me, and you find these heads right here, which I have the picture of, because it was once one piece, if you will, and that's in the Great Atlantic Ocean. So, verse 7, the river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the river Nile westward across the great Atlantic. It was used for trade and transportation. 9, according to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, no black or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the holy land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. There is no one who is able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers unless his powers extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. Islam.
Thank you. So
Yes.
not only do we have the geography, we have an outline of who the people are in ancient and in modern terminology. And also, from a spiritual, ancestral, and divine standpoint, we have the fact that you are who you are, or I am that I am, with or without process. The mother touched on it a minute ago, where I really need everybody to understand the Declaration and the Proclamation is not a process in which someone makes you who you are. Your nationality card does not make you a Moorish American. Your proclamation does not make you a Moorish American. Your declaration does not make you a Moorish American. Going to the temple, brick and mortar, doesn't make you a Moorish American. Being a part of the Great Seal does not make you a Moorish American. Guess what makes you a Moorish American? Being here. Being a descendant of Morocco, born in America, as just outlined in chapter 47. Well, we're going to go into that a little bit in a minute, just so we can go for the record, again, to emphasize this point. These are the things that make you who you are. Nature, your ancestral lineage is what makes you who you are. A title of nobility does not make you a Moorish American. I don't care if you're El Bey De Ali. I don't care what you call yourself. That does not, absolutely in no uncertain terms, make you, listen to me, make you what you were even before you knew that.
Without doubt or contradiction.
The universe is waiting for you to acknowledge it and step into that. And as the prophet said, if man knows, he must be that which he knows. That's what we're waiting for. That's what I needed to do. That's what the mother needed to do. That's what whoever is on here who has proclaimed within their own spirit, who's declared within their own spirit. That is what the key is. Them documents don't mean a damn thing if you haven't proclaimed it properly within yourself. They're dead on their face. They have no substance. And we just really need to be clear that those documents do not make you. The documents come into play because documents were used to put us in the position that we were in before the prophet came. And apparently, well after he came also. He's still here. But the mess was made through legal and lawful documentation. So it needs to be put on record that you have arrived from a mental slavery standpoint, like the mother spoke about earlier, from spiritual slavery. You have arrived. That is what your documentation is doing. It is not nationalizing you. You nationalize you. Let me say this again. That documentation, I don't care who you got it from. You could have got it from our website. That does not nationalize you. You nationalize you. If you do not understand that, don't fill it out yet. Nobody can come here and tell you who you are and who you're not, unless you're going to let them do it. But from a divine standpoint, nobody can, we just read it out to you without doubt or contradiction. I have the power of Allah within me, just like Mother does, just like everybody else that's on this line, but I don't think my power extends beyond the great universal God Allah to make somebody not be what their ancestral lineage dictates that they are already. I don't think I can do that. With or without a piece of paper, or a nationality card, or a process, or a club, or an organization. Follow me. Let's talk about it. That is not what's happening. The prophet came and he gave us what we needed. Once again, it's all documented. We've been going over this in class for months now. Everything that they do and they've been doing, even up to right now, documented. And they put it into some kind of legislation somewhere. The prophet taught us how to, for the record, once you've arrived, again, mentally and spiritually, for the record, to reverse or diminish or relinquish those very same things. We went over the Negro Act. We went over the Christian black codes. We went over other bodies of statute. It's not law. It's law to them while they're trying to enforce it. But these are the things that we're up against. These are the things, the 14th Amendment, making natural persons and corporations be simultaneous. As a matter of fact, it's quiet as kept. If you are adhering to legally, lawfully, being Negro, Black, and colored, I dare to say that a corporation, a true corporation, without adhesion or without any kind of semantics, has more standing at law than you do. I dare say that Walmart has more rights and privileges than a Negro, Black, and colored in this society. This is what the prophet came to bring to us from a lawful, from a civic standpoint. Not, yo, join this club or you ain't. Not, yo, do this paperwork the way that I laid it out or you ain't. Yo, take this nationality. Oh, no, you got the wrong card. Or you don't have the kind of card we got. Oh, well, you ain't. That's not what the 101 say. That's definitely not what the Moorish Guide says, or Moorish literature, for those that know it of that. And that's not what the Quran says. So where do we get this ideology from? Oh, ego. Yeah. Caveat emptor. Yeah. That's, so he covered that too. He knew. With the force of what he was bringing to us, he knew. Remember, he's a prophet. Foresaw it. That this was going to happen. So let's keep those things in mind as we're taking this journey, especially for the young and yet unborn. Don't let nobody tell you that they're nationalizing it. Especially not naturalized. The mother went over that definition earlier. But let's clear up the air too. They can't nationalize you either. You nationalize you. I'm gonna say it again. If your spirit and your mind ain't in it, I don't care if you got the baddest document you ever read in your life, and you hold it in your hand. If you are not, if you in, we have to remember the process again for the finite side of things, which is the paper or the card, is to reflect that you have arrived and you are ready to be yourself. You're walking truth. That doesn't make you or not make you who you are or who you're not. If man knows, he must be that which he knows. This is supposed to be natural. It's supposed to be free flowing. It's supposed to just be. We making this thing too hard. If you gotta try to be who you are, then you haven't arrived.
That's it.
Mother, can we just
Yeah.
do you have 3 or 4? You have one of those up there?
Okay, let me look at it. Before we do that, I forgot to say this at the beginning. With the process of becoming a state or Moroccan state or whatever like that, keep in mind too, remember it's the law of the land, right? That Section 10, Article 1, Section 10 of the Supreme Law of the land, it does say that. So they're saying we're going to become a Morocco state. We're going to enter into treaties. We're going to do this. They're trying to do what has already been done. Number one, for good purpose. But as a state, no state shall enter into any treaty. States can't even enter into any treaties. But they're going to tell you, yeah, we're going to become a state. They can't enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation. They can't grant letters of marque and bequeathment, can't coin money, can't emit bills of credit, can't make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. So I forgot to mention it at the top, and I know we had discussed that. I just wanted to get that in. I don't know if you want to make a comment on that.
Well,
but I forgot to mention it.
Pardon. Going back to what the mother said some time ago, when she was demonstrating earlier, you can't skip from local to international. That proof is in the pudding right there. It's not what we're saying. It's what the law says. If the state can't make a treaty because treaties are international. You have to acknowledge the nation before you go international. They skipped the chain of command. That was the checks and balance so that the chain of command is not skipped.
Exactly.
How you going to make a treaty? You're a subsidiary to me. You going to skip around me and go make a deal with somebody while I'm sitting right here as your parent company? Oh, yeah. That's all it says in a nutshell.
Yes, explain the parent-mother thing.
Pardon, so? I don't know if, is it me? I can't hear her if she's speaking. I don't know if that's just me, but I can't hear you.
She's going in and out, but she said explain the parent.
Explain what?
Parent-child things,
All right, over here.
relation to the state and the federal. Like that.
No. All right, so thank you, brother. Thank you, sister. I think I understand where she's at. So essentially, people are not just people in general that are coming up with different ways to reinvent or recreate the blueprint that we're talking about, that the prophet laid down already, where he acknowledged part and parcelship, where he acknowledged the laws and constitution of the said government. We want to turn around and we think that we could do greater than what he did. So we're going to separate that and we're going to abandon our state and we're going to build our own thing. And we ain't going to acknowledge none of that. So in the process of doing that, most of the people that I see coming up with these kind of organizations somehow, some way acknowledge the state territory, but don't acknowledge the national, not pardon me, the state company, but don't acknowledge the national company. Case in point, you have people that saying that they have different state regencies. I'm just going to use that term for a general sense. Regencies, posts, organizations, governments, body politics, they have different ones that are set up in different state territories. Meanwhile, again, with the council demonstration, they're saying that they're at New Jersey Republic. I don't care if you call it a republic or not. At the point that you say you at it, then you saying you in it. What happened to in Carol? You saying you at the place? I mean, so while we're doing that, then we're acknowledging the state, whether we do it unconsciously or not. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. How do we acknowledge the state, but don't acknowledge the mother? So I'm not bound to the U.S. But yeah, we are the Moors of New Jersey. Who is New Jersey subsidiary to? Does New Jersey have a parent? New Jersey has a mother company, does it? New Jersey have a mother company? So it has to make sense. Again, we're acknowledging state territories, but we're not acknowledging the mother that the state was born from? How does this make sense? I'm not saying either one of them. We should be relinquishing jurisdiction in either one. Let's not get that misconstrued. I'm not saying that. Those that know. But for the young and yet unborn that may be on the line, that's not the point. The point is that people are actually emphasizing that the mother company or the U.S. or the United States does not have jurisdiction, but meanwhile they're setting up their organizations in or at the state that is subsidiary or a child to that same U.S. or United States. How does that make sense? I thought the apple don't fall too far from the tree. I thought, all of those metaphors and acronyms that we could think of that connects child to mother. So for your convenience, this child don't belong to this mother. I'm gonna pull New Jersey out of the U.S. or the United States. You know how you pull New Jersey out of the United States? Acknowledging your vast estate that's here and not playing around with the subsidiaries and trying to branch off and subdivide your vast estate. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, like we went over in class a few times, I know we have people on that aren't normally in class, and we have young and yet unborn, to correspond with people that you are doing business with and or who are maybe trying to get you to contract with them. agencies. Care of will cancel out all of the rest of any little fancy semantic type of terminology you can come up with while you're putting this mailing location down for correspondence. We don't have to put the zip code in brackets. We don't have to do all of this stuff. Not telling you what to do, not telling you what not to do. I'm telling you, if you put in care of, you placed yourself outside of the jurisdiction from the beginning without saying a whole bunch of I'm not in jurisdiction or putting all these symbols and things on your correspondence. We're saying that it's as simple as that. I said in care of. Where do you live? Oh, that's in my body. For a purpose of corresponding, you can send any correspondence here in care of. You live here in care of. I receive mailing correspondence here. You tell them you're not in or a part of their jurisdiction without loudly, blatantly saying it. The prophet said in intelligent tone. Sometimes it means just that. So just think about these things too while you're navigating through this. You cannot separate yourself from the mother and attach yourself to the child. You can't do that. People might try to say, well, that's not what we do. Okay. I mean, the language says otherwise. I hear we're at New Jersey. We're at New York Republic. And you calling it what the Europeans call it. But they ain't got jurisdiction. I didn't know we called that New York. When did we start calling that New York? Somebody tell me. Now, granted, some of these names are names from our native tongue, quote unquote. Some of them. But the overall gist is New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. And, well, I don't recall us. I don't see that in the history when I'm reading and studying. I don't see us calling that New York or New Jersey. Some of them get a pass. You know, Land of Flowers, Mother Khalifa over there. Some others get a pass. But for the most part, we're detaching from mother or attempting to and trying to embrace her children. And we're calling the children by what the mother calls the children. And we saying that we ain't associated or affiliated with the mother. For the fathers that's online, does that make sense to you? You got whatever contract demonstration you have with this mother, and you know some children came about, and oh, this is my child, but that ain't the mother of my children. So let's just make things make sense. Again, there's nothing wrong with you add to the formula if you think you can do that. Who are we to tell you can't? Well, let it be in harmony and let it make sense. That's what we say. Otherwise, it's abandonment. It's definitely creating stateless persons. Because once you abandon your estate and you abandon your nationality, you become subject to all the places that you travel through. And if you don't travel through any places and you're standing and or posted in one particular place without traveling, you're subject to that. It's really simple. There's no way to get around it.